This is Shawsheen Valley Regional Vocational Technical School District on October 20th, 2020, school committee meeting. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Shawsheen Valley Regional Vocational Technical School District Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting may do so by accessing the meeting link. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Shawsheen website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Joining us tonight is Superintendent Jackson, Attorney Peterson, Mr. Gillis, Mr. Moffett, Mr. Fusco, Mr. Geddick, Mr. Devian, Mr. McIntyre, and myself, Attorney Muse. Approval, we don't have bills and payrolls today. Legal bills. Oh, we do. Oh, we do have bills. I'm sorry. We do have bills. Can I get?
Madam Chair, I would move approval of the Nuttall, McAvoy, and Joyce bills and the Howard James bills contained in the packet.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
I put it in the minutes as a roll call.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
So I just want to keep everything clean.
All righty. I think before we go to correspondence, which I don't even know if they're, would like to bring in Mr. Jeffrey Albert. He's going to give us a support service update. So we're going to move him to the top of the agenda.
Excuse me, Patty, did we approve the minutes of September 22nd?
No, I didn't.
No.
Thanks. Did you get a copy of them?
Well, yes, I just wanted to abstain, that's all, but we haven't voted on it.
No, all right. We'll do the approval of minutes.
So moved, Madam Chairman. The minutes of September 22nd, 2020.
Madam Chair, one amendment, one edit. The motion by Mr. Peterson was seconded by Mr. Fusco, not Ms. Fusco. Let me edit. So
Good point.
I thank you. So, Bob, Mr. Peterson, I'll second that as amended.
All right. Jim, did you have anything, any amendments to it, or you just wanted?
No, I just want to abstain on the meeting, on the minutes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain?
One abstention.
One abstention. Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Albert. Oh, we can't hear you. You're muted.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Jackson, and thank you to all the members of the school committee for inviting me to share a brief update of the things that I have observed in the Student Support Services Department to this point. Over the last 10 weeks, I've had the pleasure to step into this school and begin to get acclimated. I've had countless conversations with students, parents, teachers, administrators, community members, and a lot of other individuals that bleed purple, for sure. My job right now is to sort of learn the current state of affairs at Shawsheen and to celebrate all the things that we do so well. And then to shine a light on some areas that need growth and improvement. While we could probably go around and around and around as to why we have a need for some significant areas of improvement, it's more important to use the current data to acknowledge the problem areas and focus on the solutions. So I'm taking a forward-thinking approach on this. I always say that, you know, there's a reason why the windshield is larger than the rearview mirror. So, you know, with this forward-looking approach, I'd like to start off with some gratitude to this school committee. I'd like to send a sincere thank you to all of you for reviewing the data that I prepared and shared with Brad for your consideration and approval for a team chair school psychologist. This is going to really help our department build on a foundation of compliance. And it's going to affect the quality of services for our students. So thank you very much for that. On the behalf of our entire Student Support Services Department, we thank you. We appreciate that. This does not alleviate all the needs for our department, unfortunately, but it's a great step forward. Some of the good, this pandemic has added layers of challenges for teachers and students that we never dreamed of. Last year, while districts were scrambling to figure out what to do, I'm sure that Shawsheen was no exception. It may not have been perfect, but from my view, the Support Services Department gets an A for effort as they develop these remote learning plans as mandated by DESE for kids with IEPs. These plans were mapped after the advisement of the Department of Ed, and I think they were a well-done document and developed in a time of great panic. So, this creates a template for me to jump off of and continue to develop specialized plans for our students. And, all that hard work by the department is not unnoticed. We start off the year a little short-staffed because a couple of teachers are out due to personal circumstances. The shortage comes at a time when Shawsheen, I think, is experiencing its highest numbers of special ed enrollment in its history. We're teetering at about 400 special ed students, which is about 30% of our student population. Despite this, I think we rolled up our sleeves and got resourceful. Instead of bringing a sub in, we decided to, have our department work together as a team to step up and absorb the shortage of these individuals so that our students would have a familiar and certified credentialed teachers in front of them. That means that it was an all hands on deck approach that we took, and everyone took a hit on their schedule a little bit to take on a little more to absorb the needs for these teachers' schedules. So it was really, really, a great sign to me of our level of commitment and teamwork. Over the summer, we had about 100 meetings to bring in incoming freshmen who have IEPs. Due to change in leadership with my coming on board and the COVID constraints, there was a gap in our ability to write all of these IEPs. So just a short time ago, we had over 80 IEPs that still needed to be formally written for freshmen. And with the help of members of my department who really stepped up, we only have about 15 left. So we've made some tremendous progress in terms of getting up to speed on those freshman IEPs. I've been working behind the scenes to resolve about 8 to 10 written complaints or conflicts from parents on behalf of students. All of these complaints occurred before I arrived and were generated for a variety of reasons. These require my immediate attention. Happy to report that I've been able to resolve these through individual meetings with parents and all stakeholders. And we've really come to some nice agreements and resolution on some of these issues. The good news of that is out of that conflict, I will be able to bring some procedural changes and some professional development in an effort for us to sort of calibrate our practices, because what we want to do is create a common language in terms of how we operate as a department. I plan to organize our first CPAC meeting at the end of October, and this will be encouraging parent participation and hopefully become a place where parents in our greater community can use this council as a resource for their own growth, a place that's positive, informative, and supportive. We continually, of course, we're always trying to improve this model of remote versus in-person learning as we go. And it certainly has its challenges. Our team has been working on some ways to try to improve the in-person learning experience. We recognize that students need more.
Hi, Sunny. Sorry,
And I've
sorry, I
been
was on a,
working
I was on
closely with
a
the
Zoom thing. I had
Director of
to
Academics,
shut down.
Danica Johnston.
Excuse me,
She,
Glenn, you need to mute yourself. Oh, all right. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
oh, that's okay. We recognize that our students need more support. And I've been working closely with our new Director of Academics, Danica Johnston, a great addition to our team. She has a structured plan to provide more specialized support for students after school with the combined assistance of special ed and content area teachers who will work together to help students who are struggling. Let's see here. I've also observed in my short time here that we have some, the numbers of students on the autism spectrum and with mental health issues continue to grow. It's on the rise. So I really think that as a school, I'm looking to highlight these areas and to build some capacity to meet the needs of these students more effectively. Some professional development in these areas would be helpful with the goal to expand our understanding and our strategies to help these students. So some observations. I've observed that the Student Support Services Department is really a team of dedicated, hardworking teachers who care deeply about their students. The increasing level of need and the rising caseload numbers significantly impacts Student Support Service teachers' ability to meet the needs to the same level of attention when caseloads run at about, this year, 34 to 35 students. If you really do a quick survey of this, if you were to query around sending districts and other vocational schools, some of which I've worked in, districts try to hover at a space of about 25 on a caseload. So to add 10 to every teacher increases their ability to meet the needs in the same way. And I say that because I'm a little biased because I'm a special educator, but special ed teachers are rock stars because half of what they do is not taken into account. They not only teach their assigned classes, but if you think about it, they do so much more. At the high school level, for example, in addition to teaching, they have caseloads to manage. So these 34 to 35 students that they manage means that they are the student's lifeline. They are responsible for the implementation of the IEP, the parent contact. They have to know each student's entire schedule. They have to reach out and get updates and collect data on each student. Each of those students has 5 or 6 teachers. So this is really 210 teacher interactions that each special ed teacher has to have to stay up to snuff with the kids on their caseload. They manage compliance, progress reports, holding IEP meetings, writing IEPs, implementing IEPs, all while teaching and building relationships with students. So now you add the layer of a pandemic and remote learning. This is why I call them rock stars. So if I had started sooner in this process, I would have come to you with recommendations, but I'm learning as I go. So ideally, I would propose to solve, this problem this year if possible. The good news is that the budget season for the 2021-22 school year is right upon us. And I will be considering all of this data and making an informed decision and proposing some additions to staff to right-size the department. Because right-sizing the department is really the foundation of which off everything else builds. So I want you all to know I take a foundational approach to growth. In every department, there's an essential foundational locus that's needed to operate a school. And in special ed, one of those pillars is compliance to state and federal regulations. So staffing resources need to be allocated based on the needs of students. And as you know, the needs of students and the complexity of those needs are increasing steadily every year. So what is the right size of the department one year could change to the next year. We need to be ready to meet the needs of our incoming students. But I will be looking at those pieces in terms of adding resources to drop teacher caseloads so that our teachers can have a focus of those 20, ideally 25 students to case manage plus their teaching. And with additional staff, it's also going to create an opportunity to change some of our practice and reach more kids in different levels. So, I'm looking at all those moving parts to really go forward in a way that meets the needs of our student population. I'm very hopeful that Shawsheen Tech and the Student Services Department can go forward with some positive growth with the continued hard work and dedication of our talented team. So, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm grateful for the opportunity that this committee has given me. Our admin team is cohesive right now and student focused, and I'm very excited to be part of something like that. So thank you for the time. If you have any particular questions for me, I'll be happy to answer any. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. And I will
Okay.
tell you that I've only heard very good things about you. And I'm
Thank
glad you're with us. Yes, Mr. Gillis.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Muse. Jeff, just a couple of questions. How many students, you said we had about 80 freshmen, did you say, incoming?
No, we had about 80 freshman IEPs that we still needed to write. We have like 115 freshmen.
What, 115 in total population, student?
About
300?
Yeah, we're teetering about 400 special ed students.
Oh, 400. I thought you said 300.
Yeah, we're in the deep 390s right now.
Okay, and how many teachers do you have in your department?
So we have about 13.
13. Okay.
12
Okay.
to 13, yeah.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, and I wrote, Ms. Gillis has joined us. And
I am late. Dinner took longer than I expected it to. I believe we approved, did we approve hiring somebody for him?
Yes.
And did that happen?
That person starts
Monday.
Starts this coming.
So I'm very glad to hear that. Even with the addition of that person, you're still short-staffed, right?
Right. The data that I collected, yes, that is true. The data that I collected for Brad and the committee to show you the need for the team chair school psychologist was really based on legal compliance in terms of meeting timelines for initial reevaluation kiddos. So, we're really high in our number on that. We have like 175 to accomplish. One person tackling it full time can probably sustain about 100. So this person's going to come in and absorb quite a bit, but I still need to work with my department to find the existing resources to do those other 75. This data that I've just now collected is really showing, based on our numbers of special ed kids, why caseloads are so much higher and why, that affects the quality of services to students. We need to get that number more manageable to a lower number.
So Jeff, how much staff do you need, do you think?
It's a great question. I really think that to right size the department, I think adding this team chair school psychologist is one major piece. I think the other pieces that are important right now would be to have 2 special ed teachers and 2 paraprofessionals. Ideally, that's like ideally to right size the department. That would bring caseloads down to about that sweet spot of 25, and that would allow us the ability to creatively service more students.
Yes, Nancy.
Just out of curiosity, have we had a school psychologist before?
Historically, I'm not sure the answer to that. I know we have one school psychologist now on staff, and we have a school adjustment counselor.
So this is going to make it two school psychologists,
Yes,
but one is going to be designated for special ed?
yes.
Thank you.
Yep, they both work under me in special education, but I think of it this way. They work in the student support services department, but we're here for all students. So there's an ability for a school psychologist to work with any student that attends Shawsheen.
Yes, Ron.
Just one thought, Jeff, I've heard nothing but great things. And I'm so
Well, thank you.
I'm so glad you're with us. Special education is a very difficult task. And we brought you on board. I think we did a great thing, and you righted the ship. And keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Has Desi come in yet for the issues prior to you? Has Desi come in yet for the issues predating you?
I missed the question. I'm sorry.
Has Desi has Desi come in yet regarding issues that would happen prior to you coming?
Yes. To give you a little more on that, they contacted me early on, and they sort of shared with me their concerns. And I've been working closely with some individuals at DESE in conjunction with parents and community stakeholders to work together to resolve some of these concerns on a more local level and not have to seek further assistance or investigation or intervention from the Department of Education. So those conversations are going very well, and I expect to resolve every single one of them on a local level and not have to, it probably within the next week or more than half of them will be resolved.
Great news, thank you.
So I just wanted to clarify that because you may not have heard the question. The question was, have they been on site? And the answer is, as I understand it, they have not. They've been consulting. Jeff has been managing the process of resolving these issues with the families using DESE in a consultative manner, but they are not dictating they are not coming to any conclusions if we are able to resolve these ourselves between the complainant and Shawsheen. So we haven't, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but
Yes.
we are still in the phase that DESE has given the associate commissioner allowed me and Jeff's counterpart at DESE allowed Jeff sometimes to resolve these ourselves between the families and the school without having to resort to DESE coming in and doing an investigation.
Right, correct. So DESE has pressed pause on the investigation, and if we're able to resolve these issues on a local level, they will not be needing to come in and investigate due to the mutual local agreements that I'm drafting on these individual complaints. So that part's going very, very smoothly.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the continued support, and onward and upward, right?
And it is.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Correspondence, there wasn't any correspondence. Questions from residents and staff? Is the phone line open?
The phone line, if residents have questions, there's a phone number that will connect you directly to the conference room. This phone here, the phone number is 978-671-3664. If we could get the speaker,
Hello? Hello? Hello, can you give me your name and what town are you from? Doreen Healy. Doreen? And what's your question or?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I just wanted to turn down my computer so you don't hear me. I just wanted to say since the support service director was presenting, I want to thank him. I think it's a great benefit and he's a great addition to the Shawsheen family. I feel that we're going to get back to where we were. And I'm very happy that he hasn't run yet because there's a lot to do and he's still here. And I think it's a great thing for everybody. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out and let you guys know that. Because I think another thing too, I don't think you mentioned it, but you figure during this pandemic, on top of him coming in and has to clean up what I call a mess, he is coming in to 5 towns that haven't been able to evaluate the kids because of the pandemic. So we're getting those evaluations on top of everything else. So that staff has been working so hard in that support service department. And I personally want to thank everybody over there and thank you all for your time and thank him for sticking around and staying in it and putting so much time into our kids and our community.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
thank you.
You. Oh, wait a minute.
What's the lot of time? We did 10 minutes.
I don't think we have it. I'm not sure. I think we have to look at the policy. I really think so. Yeah.
Per person?
No, that's all.
Oh, total. Oh, all right, yeah. We're not waiting.
No, don't get it
I don't even-
Continue on, superintendent's report.
Yes, I have 2 things to report to the committee tonight. The first is on the daycare issue.
Madam Chairman made a record request that I was not present during the day.
okay.
Applause while Kristen leaves the room for a moment. Regarding the daycare issue, I sat down and talked to the staff users, our daycare center, 3 or 4 times. We've had a lot of productive conversations. We've provided them with information, particularly on the financial level that they hadn't really had access to prior to this. And I share that information with you as well. The first is the reserve fund balance as of June 30th, which was an unrestricted fund balance of almost $19,000. Basically, our daycare center runs at a break-even point where the tuitions, if you can look on the second page, the final page, the FY21 budget plan, basically the tuitions pay for staff salaries, supplies, and a little bit of professional development. And the district picks up the cost of the director, all of the health insurance costs, all of the dental, all of the insurance costs. And there actually is a Middlesex County retirement assessment that we also assume. I just didn't have that figure available. So at this point in time, the district is picking up on an annual basis over 50% of the cost of our daycare, of our child care center. The schools? The district, the schools, yes. So the conversation originally was focused on 2 things. One was what, if any, rebate or return of tuition paid for last year should be considered. And the second one was how are we going to move forward? Frankly, after I shared with them the information about the balances, the issue of FY20 last year went away, and they no longer, really started focused on that at all. So we focused primarily on what are we going to do moving forward. And the agreement that I came to them with, which is different than what we did last year. If we do have to shut down the center, and the shutdown happens either if the state or the town of Billerica orders us to close Shawsheen to all employees due to COVID, the next paycheck after shutdown will continue to have a full tuition payment taken out of it. And the second and subsequent paycheck will be reduced, the deduction will be reduced by 50%. So at that point in time, we'll cost share the cost, which essentially means the district would assume 75% of the cost, and the users would assume 25% of the cost. That is assuming that the district would have the option to either lay off or to put those employees to not lay off, but to furlough those employees during the shutdown. There's no telling whether or not the unemployment situation, as it was during the first shutdown, would be available. But it is that basically was the collaborative agreement that the group and I came to regarding moving forward. So I think they felt good about it. I suspect there's been some communication directly with some members of the committee about this, because they are I do know that the president of the STA also tried to get involved in this as well, although this is not an STA issue. So that's my update on the daycare issue. Question?
So if there is a shortfall that goes to 75-25, where does the other, say you keep them on through the end of the school year paid, and the district covers it at 5%? Does that come from like
Can't hear.
what?
You're not here. I don't know if you want to
Okay,
take
so
that off.
if the daycare item goes to 75-25, the district picks up the other 25%. How is that coming? Is it going to come from like budget savings from previous years? You have to go back to town meeting to request from the town to get more money.
Well, that would be the conversation we'd have to have at the time based on the anticipated length of the shutdown, and the then current condition of the budget and any potential surplus we may be seeing from any savings because of the shutdown. I would not, furloughing employees is an option. The employees is an option as well, which would, we'd still need to maintain our commitment to their insurance payment. But they would then be eligible for unemployment should we furlough them. But again, that would be somewhat of a game time decision in conjunction with the budget subcommittee as well, because we wouldn't have that money allocated per se in the budget right now. We'd have to reallocate from any existing savings, and we might see.
I have, somebody else have a question.
Patty?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. Jim, yes.
Okay, am I on? Hello?
Mr. Gillis?
Hi.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, there I am. Everybody disappeared for a second. I think I'm having more technical difficulties here. But anyway, I mean, the daycare program was a vision of the former superintendent, as most of us know, Charlie Lyons. And I think 5 of the members, present members, were a part of that. And it was recognized that the program was not for profit endeavor. I think that the 5 of us remember that. And the goal was simply to provide a daycare program to attract and keep quality teachers for our kids. Having said that, you know, I'm a proponent of refunding the teachers. I think that they were provided, they were paying for services they didn't get. And I think that there's something really wrong with that. And I think with this almost for profit type of thing, or trying to, even though it's a 50-50 deal, I don't agree with it. And I'm just one person, I understand that. But in looking over the numbers, and I think some of these questions, is Melanie with us tonight?
She is not.
Oh, she's not. Well, some of these questions are probably more directed at her. But in the 21 budget plan, which is outlined there, I mean, you talked about, and in your answer about question 1, you talked about the capital improvements in that, what was it,
62,000
right, $960 was taken out of the FY20 budget for capital improvement, correct?
No, that was money that actually, that's money that was there actually at the end of FY19
Uh-huh.
and got carried into FY20 and they didn't spend it. So it's money that was collected by previous ratepayers back earlier on. So there's basically in a reserve fund, you have an unrestricted balance and a restricted balance. So the restricted balance is something that you can only use for a certain purpose. So the restricted balance for capital can only be used to pay for capital. Just because you have an OPEB set aside, you can't take that money and use it for something else. So that money, that 62,000 was actually there at the beginning on June 30th, 2019. That 62,000 was there and made its way untouched throughout the year. It wasn't increased or decreased.
Okay. So that money was there for capital improvements, and yet we haven't decided what capital improvements we're going to use it for?
That's correct. It's still it's still reserved for that purpose.
And it could only be used for that.
Right. I understand that.
But it only has to be used for capital improvement within the childcare?
Well, it definitely has to be used for
Childcare. It does not.
For the program. Right. I understand that, but I still have a problem with.
The committee, in my view, could take that money and allocate it somewhere else. Which I think.
I still feel that we've basically lost our way with this whole issue. And I think that the teachers, once again, to have paid for something that they didn't get. And on the FY21, I mean, I'm actually insulted at the bottom note, Brad, that it says that in addition to paying the director's salary and employee contributions for all the benefits, the district does not charge for rent or require to pay its share of utilities or cleaning or other building expenses. And, you know, that shouldn't even be there. I mean, we shouldn't have teachers paying for rent for a program or for cleaning or utilities. That rationale there is, to me, it's ludicrous.
Well, so I want to be clear that wording is mine and not Ms. Hagman's. And the reason it's there is so that the committee and the entire group can have a sense as to what the total cost of this program is. I agree with you, Mr. Gillis, that this is an extraordinarily important program that should be supported, that I support. I think it does attract and retain quality teachers, particularly younger teachers, and it is a benefit that we see a benefit for it as well. I absolutely agree with that.
Well, it's a great program, and I know the teachers do a great job, and I know the teachers really appreciate it, that utilize the program.
Right.
And once again, I think it's something wrong with our whole program if we're charging teachers for a service that they did not receive. Because back then, you know, what can I say? Maybe they should have been laid off, the teachers. I'm not saying that the daycare teachers should not have been paid. Of course they should be paid. That's not an issue with me. But I think that our teachers who utilize the program should get a rebate. And you know what? Let's end the discussion right now, and I'll make a motion that the school committee refund the teachers the amount of money that they paid from I think it was 13 weeks from March to June, and they get a credit for this fall for what they paid. Now, teachers who do not have students in the program, then they should get a rebate. And I mean, we're talking about $2,750, according to my math, based on the FY21 budget report on what they pay weekly, monthly, and whatever. So I believe that should happen. I believe they should get that credit, and I believe that the teachers who do not have students should get a refund. So that's my motion. That's my motion.
Jim, can you hold?
Yes.
And
Pardon me?
Can you hold that motion and just listen to other people's ideas, or?
Oh, sure. Sure.
Okay. All right, first, Karen.
I have two questions. Dr. Jackson, what is the per month fee charged per child, approximately?
It's, the total cost is $8,000 a year.
Okay.
Over 10 months, over to 10 months, $800 a month.
Okay. And are there any capital improvements that need to be done? Is there anything that the staff of the daycare is saying, you know, this is really in rough shape, or this really needs to be improved, or we need additional walls, or I don't know. Is there anything that the teachers would like to have done?
I have not had that conversation with them explicitly, but judging by the fact that it's been hanging around for over a year, I would assume not. I think it's a fair assumption to assume not, because people are, when there's money available, people are good, and there's a need, people are, educators are understandably aggressive about getting that money allocated.
And if I understood correctly, there's no leftover money from last year, and the teachers understand that and are accepting that they're not going to get a rebate, although from what Mr. Gills is saying and from what the teacher, an email, the school committee is saying, they would certainly appreciate a refund.
I think it's safe to say that anybody would appreciate a rebate. Absolutely. I think there's no argument about that.
My suggestion, and I won't make it a motion because we have to deal with Jim's motion first, is that we give a small rebate. If we give every family $1,000, it's only a month. It's not the whole thing. I know it's not the whole thing. It would chop the capital improvements budget not quite in half, a little less than in half. So we still have money there for future improvements, but we hear Mr. Gillis and the parents' wishes that yes, we did pay for a service that we were not able to utilize. We understand that where the money went, but still, we weren't able to utilize it. So, you know, $1,000 is better than nothing. Obviously, I'll wait to make my motion until we deal with Jim's motion.
Nancy.
I need clarification. Is it my understanding that the teachers of these kids met and accepted the fact that they would not be getting a rebate?
I don't really believe that's exactly what happened.
That's an assumption.
Right.
Well, what did happen? They got together and they met, they were told how the monies were needed, and they agreed, they accepted it, or they just said, whatever. Not clear on that. What was their final opinion on that?
The discussions I had with them, which may be different than any side conversations that they had with members of this committee, but the conversations that I had with them was their priority was to resolve the issue moving forward. Understanding that that after I showed them the unrestricted fund balance for FY20 that we ended the year with, that there was little room for for movement.
If we get, where would the money come from if the money has been expended for salaries? Would it come out of the capital fund? That capital fund is designated for
Yeah.
capital projects.
It would come out of that capital fund.
But a capital fund is designated. You can't do that.
This is a little different, Nancy, because this is a revolving fund. And we just designated it there. It really, we can designate that money as long as it has something to do with the childcare.
That is correct.
It doesn't have to go to a capital improvement.
So it's not truly a capital expenditures group. Okay, let's call that. All right,
Yes.
thank you.
Patty?
Yep.
I mean, I just want to comment. I think it's interesting that, you know, the monies that were taken out was it 63, was 62,960?
Right. Yep.
Right. Well, what was paid in over those 13 weeks by the teachers was 63,268 approximately, based on the FY21 numbers. So, I mean, somewhere around that, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you have teachers, that money that the teachers paid in ended up going into a capital improvement revolving fund.
Well, actually, that was set aside.
Yes,
He's just saying.
it became restricted in capital improvement.
Yes,
But
over the years, they have put it, yes.
Once again, that monies, I believe, were basically what the teachers paid.
Okay, I
It's
actually.
almost the same amount if you do the math.
I'm just curious, like,
All right.
did they ever like survey like what other tech schools did, or there's gotta be some other schools that have similar daycares?
They gave rebates. of
Nancy, the question was, how did other schools handle this?
Thank you.
Hi, Nancy.
Second the motion.
Jim in a second. Because I was gonna suggest half. I think they should get money back. I do too. And I do know that like Tewksbury did not get full money back. You know, I'm not even sure if it was 30% or what. But they still were teaching those students because they were a little older. It was a preschool.
So you're
Well-
talking about
With
giving
an
money.
infant in this, there is no way a teacher was teaching that child.
All right.
So you're talking about giving money back. How much, what percentage are you talking about? We're just saying, giving the money back.
It was
What-
just to give them whatever was paid during when there was no teaching being done.
The full amount.
Yes,
And that money would come out of the capital fund.
yes.
How long has the capital fund been accruing? How many years?
I don't have the answer to that. All I can tell
Probably
you,
since the beginning, so.
yeah, it's been building over the time, although
Right.
it's been used. Those are things that, you know, when you, like the equipment that's outside, the playground equipment, that stuff is paid for out of this type of account. Because.
I'm just saying the money is old money. That's not new money that has been
That was, yeah, that
Right.
technically,
been growing. It's been growing.
Yes.
Okay.
Kim.
I would be hesitant if we haven't made any capital improvements in the daycare recently. And nobody's speaking up and saying, oh yeah, we completely revamped the playground 5 years ago. Nobody's saying that. So I'm thinking we haven't put any capital money into the daycare. I would be hesitant to empty that fund. I would agree that a half, or I said less than half, but a half would be better in my book, and I don't know exactly how
I
we
think
do.
before we
All
go.
right, Patty,
One number,
Patty,
Melanie,
I had figured 2750, but you know what? I'm listening to you, Patty, and I'm willing to amend my motion for a $1,500 credit for the teachers.
All right, I would,
I think
I
before
would
we
say
do that though, I think we
So
should.
that would be almost half. Is that right? A little over half, Jim?
Little under half.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little over half, excuse me, yes.
Oh, it's only 18 kids.
right, it's 18 students. Right.
I think before we make a rash judgment, I think we should have Melanie come in to the next meeting and talk about it, and then we can also talk about what capital X projects, or before we just throw out random numbers and have a conversation conversation with her here. 'Cause I think we're just throwing out numbers, basically, you know, I agree with, Mr. Develop that we should do some type of refund, but I don't, you know, in a perfect world, it's a lose-lose situation. Because it's like, on one regard, I agree with you 100%. Burlington did that. I mean, if I was stuck in the service, I would expect that. So I agree 100%. But then on the other side, it's like, you know, if the daycare does need some capital X project, I think like before we jump to conclusions and they say that, I think we should table it until the next meeting. Have Melanie come in, have a discussion about it. You know, ask what other schools did. Like, I don't care what. I mean, Burlington's not the best example, but like other schools have a similar daycare. I mean, whether it's a tech school or not a tech school, you know, figure out what capital X projects are on board to come up the next like 2 years. Like, say the playground got replaced and it's 10 grand. You know, figure out all those numbers, sit down, and then. But I do agree with Mr. Gill. I think it is a good sign to show your teachers that you do give them some type of credit. So I agree 100%. But I think before we make some rash judgment, whether it's 100%, 50%, I think we need to sit down and talk about that. Whether that goes to the budget subcommittee or something like that, or somebody reviews it, I think we should have that conversation before we start throwing out numbers. But I definitely agree that we should offer some type of credit back because my eyes, that's a sign of good faith. And I think we definitely should talk to whatever finder.
Can I, Mr.
Sorry, go
Moffett?
ahead. Yep, go ahead.
I'm going to disagree with you because we have discussed this with Melanie.
Yep.
We have had meetings. This has been going on since when, Jim?
Mhm.
Like June.
It's been going on since June, and, you know, I made a motion about 3 meetings ago, and that was tabled to wait for a report.
So you're expecting people that weren't here. I mean, me and Karen, you're expecting. People
Right. I understand, Ken. I understand.
We've already tabled it for almost half a year. So
Yeah.
for the benefit of people that are brand new,
Mhm.
I think we should have that conversation with
Mhm.
people that is not here.
But I think,
If I may,
I believe,
we can replenish the funds if something for capital comes up.
Right.
It's not like we can't put funds there. So, and it is failing this program, so we don't need a lot. Playground maybe, but it's something we can revisit. I think we address this now with teachers, and then we can circle back to, okay, what are the needs? You know, in maybe the next 5 years.
and if you
Well, that's why we have a capital planning budget.
when you read this memo, it was Melanie and the superintendent who met with them, and this is what they came up with. So I'm not sure what more Melanie can tell us, because these are numbers that were done by Melanie.
These are Melanie.
These are Melanie's numbers. And
Well, you know what, I didn't even get into the 50-50 on that second question, because, I mean, hypothetically, if we shut down December 31st and we go 50-50 from January to June, who's going to pay that other 50% for the teacher's salaries?
Well, that's not the issue you're talking about now, but the answer is.
No, I'm jumping the question too. What my point is, we're going to find the money for that 50% for those 6 months, if hypothetically we shut down. So I say that we should be finding the money right now and move that restricted to unrestricted.
Can I move the point? I just want to hear again what's on the table. Jim has amended it to 1,500.
yes,
Okay.
100 for 18 students.
Has that been seconded?
Yes,
I will
it
second
has.
that, yeah.
Okay.
1,500 per child for 18 children is $27,000, which leaves about $35,960 in the capital improvements, assuming I can count, which is not a good.
And just not to muddy the waters, but I do know that there were some plans for that money this year. So I do know that Melanie had discussed it with me, but it was I think some of the outside furniture stuff needs to be replaced. But I think we can handle that.
I can live with $1,500.
Okay.
I move the vote. I move the question.
Second,
I just want to speak
Yeah.
on it. I've been thinking and reading about this for months, and I know we started this conversation back in the spring. And it first came to the table, Jimmy, not only looked at us like we had 3 heads, you know. So yes, it's a gray area, Brad, very difficult decision. And I know it's a sign of good faith. I'd like us to use some of the money. I hope Paul just sitting around 62,000. We don't have to break the bank. So I think this will be a sign of good faith, $1,500. I mean, these parents are getting quality daycare, and God forbid. So
Mhm.
I go along with that. Thing.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is it a unanimous vote?
Yeah, I mean, I still,
I know what you want.
I disagree.
You
but
can
I mean,
abstain.
No, I'll vote for it, because that's the thing, I still disagree.
All right.
He likes the idea, just have the time.
All right. Thank you very much. The second update I wanted to provide you very briefly, a COVID update. Oh, we'll wait. We're gonna pause. Mr. Peterson didn't return to the room, so that was 8-0.
Somebody better get Mr. Peterson.
Ah,
Here he
we
is.
are.
Here he is.
Fell asleep.
So the second update I wanted to provide is just a brief COVID update. Things are progressing very well. We continue to have over 50% of our students in school, physically present in school each day. That is, as I've been able to find out, far beyond what most area high schools are doing, and also far beyond what most vocational technical high schools are doing. Most of them are doing shop 1 week out of 4 and only have 1 grade in. So our students are getting their full shop experience, and they're also getting their academic experience remotely according to our bell schedule. I did want to update the committee on one thing that is still in the works and we're still discussing, but we are becoming a little concerned about the amount of screen time on the academic side that our students we're requiring of our students. It is becoming extremely stressful for academic teachers and for our students who are accessing this essentially 7 to 2 Monday through Friday. So we are considering inserting on Wednesday an asynchronous day, a day when teachers would, so they have a synchronous day Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, they have an asynchronous day where they have work to do independently, and then they reconnect with the bell schedule for Thursday and Friday. To kind of give a little break in the rhythm, both for teachers and for students. It is, we are learning just how challenging this is for both groups of people to be on all the time. And we feel we can, if we're going to discuss this, we haven't made any final decisions yet, but I did want to alert the committee that that's a possibility. That change may come in the next several weeks if we make it. Other than that, we continue to have our students who are on site for academics. We keep modifying that model so they are in more classrooms where we used to have more of a satellite program where they were served almost exclusively in the library and in the gymnasium.
Mickey.
We are reducing that significantly. So that's been an improvement as well. And that is testimony.
We lost again?
So that is my update on.
Can I ask, because I missed it. What was how many kids show up every day?
We have about, half come here for.
No, I know, but
we have
I'm
about,
present. Like, is it?
Everybody who can be here.
yes, well, we have probably 24 over the 4 grades, 24 students who go remote for SHARP. But we have about 40 students per grade who are in person for academics.
Okay, what was the absentee? That's what I want to know, the
I don't
absentee rate.
have absentee figures today.
Oh, you don't?
Okay. I can tell you that attendance is statewide is
It's low.
very challenging. Well, no, I'm talking about taking attendance
Oh, okay.
and expecting it because of cameras going off and that type of thing. So but our attendance in terms of, during shop week is, where it's been all the time. We're seeing no reduction. Kids who are, we expect to be here are here.
That's good. Yes.
I'll echo that. I've talked to a couple of teachers I know today. The kids are coming and they want to learn. So it's great, you know.
Yeah.
It's great. We got a good thing going here. In one of the vocational schools.
Patty?
Jimmy.
Hi, Patty, I just want to make a comment that, you know, compared to other communities that I'm familiar with, I think that the administration and the teachers at Shawsheen have done an incredible job, and I'm very proud of everybody over there.
That's fine.
Two things. One is, I will say I completely understand the wish to break up, you know, a 7-hour day of screen time or whatever it is. I will say that I think as a parent, I really like that they're checking in with their teachers, you know, every day right now.
Yeah.
I really like that. I have friends who have kids in other schools, and they're in school 2 days, they're asynchronous, so fully online one day, and then the other 2 days, they're basically just, you know, popping in and pretty much expected to do their own thing for the entire day. And that, I think that's really hard. I totally understand that all day long on the screen is not necessarily better. But I like this sort of compromise that you're coming up with where you're not just completely taking a day that they don't have to do anything. You know, I like the idea that maybe they still check in, but you know, it's a 5-minute class with their biology teacher instead of the hour and a half or something, so that it's not, it's less screen time.
There will be check-ins and office hours. We'll be talking about those things with the teachers, but it's not gonna be, you're on your own. They're gonna have expectations, from their teachers of what they're supposed to deliver. That's why it's good to do it in the middle of the week, because they have to return on Thursday with some extra work. We've also seen, you know, that there has been some feedback about the level of homework that certain students in certain grades are receiving on the academic side, which I have to tell you, with all due respect, is music to my ears. I challenge anyone to find a school district where parents are concerned about the amount of schoolwork, academic work that they're getting this year. I challenge you to find another district where that's happening. But having said that, we do have to recognize this is a different model. The kids are struggling, the kids are kids, and that we want to make sure that we can adjust and meet their needs as best we can. There's a lot of stress out there, as Mr. Albert talked about, a lot of mental health issues, etc.
Different question. I know that we follow Billerica, so that if Billerica has 3 weeks in the red, that's just going to advise that Shawsheen closed because there are Sundays down and there are locations. But is that an absolute, if Billerica has to close for 3 weeks, do you have to say we're shut down? Or do you have leeway if there's literally been no cases in the building? Do you have leeway, or is that mandated by Dusty?
It is not mandated. I have leeway to take local issues into consideration. The 3 weeks is a guideline, and it's mostly in place because of communities that are going from red to yellow to red to green to yellow to red. But if Billerica's 8.1% 1 week, that they had one less case, they would have been 7.9, which would have been yellow. Billerica has the option to make choices, as does Shawsheen. So that's a local decision based on the local data. We're also encouraged to consider uniquenesses to our data. So, for example, Billerica has a prison, and if most of that outbreak is in the prison and is not in the general population, then that would be an issue that would be something that could be considered. For example, many of the initial nursing home. And those numbers would have been exorbitant in Wilmington, but the town was very safe. It was just in those 2 nursing homes.
Anybody else? Are you done?
I am.
Thank you. Subcommittee reports. First one up, facilities and capital planning.
Chairman Hughes, as chairman of the Facilities and the Capital Planning Subcommittee, we met October 6th on Zoom to discuss improvements that are going to be made to our gymnasium. Most importantly, I have, as I indicated to the committee earlier,
I think you need to talk louder.
thank you.
No one's ever said that. That was before when you have that.
You caught me there, but yes, okay. The committee, I initiated the discussion to honor a employee who has been here since 1985, Mark Donovan, Coach Donovan. And the committee has, my subcommittee, we voted unanimously to support the recommendation that I made to name the gymnasium in his honor. And I hope to get the unanimous approval from the full committee tonight. So Pat, Chairman Hughes, I will make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Make the motion that we name the gymnasium here at Shawsheen Tech, the Mark Donovan Gymnasium.
Nancy, did you hear that?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about. I know,
I think a motion has been made to name the gym after Coach Mark Donovan in honor of his 30+ years as a wrestling coach and administrator here in the building.
So we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, unanimous vote.
Thank you, and I will keep the committee updated on the future plans for the, what we're going to do in terms of the order, the plaque and the order and the dedication ceremony. So the next meeting, I'll update everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nancy, next on the agenda is the policy subcommittee.
okay, we're gonna give it a shot. So, last week, the policy subcommittee met on Zoom in response to a letter from Attorney McAvoy, who recommended that we replace, I'm gonna have to help me with this, guys, adopt a new policy to eliminate the non-discrimination.
Yes, changes to the non-discrimination policies.
Right, and to replace it, to eliminate the non-discrimination on basis of sex, basis of gender, sexual orientation, ACAB, the sexual harassment, JBA, student-to-student harassment, and have it all consolidated under one ACA. Do I have that right?
That's what.
Yes,
Okay, and
We don't discriminate, it's a wording.
yes.
it's a matter of simplifying everything under one category.
Okay,
So the committee, the policy committee accepted it, voted to accept the change and recommends the change.
so are you making, was that your motion?
Yes,
Second.
All right,
Okay, Paul.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous vote. Okay, we're in new business. Designation of liaison to the State Ethics Commission.
Madam Chairman, I would designate the superintendent as our representative.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, approved, unanimous vote. The next two things on the agenda we've already done. The acceptance of donation from E-Ink. The superintendent will talk. You will also speak a little louder or take your
I
mask
will-
off
I
if she
will.
cannot hear you.
So I'm very pleased to announce to the committee and to the community that we've established a corporate partnership with a Bill Ricker company called E-Ink. They are an international company that makes electronic ink for devices such as Nooks and things like something that's called digital paper. This is a digital paper system. It's something that you can use as a tablet to write on and then put it into a PDF form, something you could actually use for a book, like a Nook, etc. It's extremely light. We received 9 of those, and we also received a cash donation that they have asked that we designate for use to purchase student devices for COVID-related needs. And the cash donation was in the amount of $15,000. So it would be my recommendation that the school committee vote to accept the generous cash and equipment donation from E-Ink Corporation of Bill Ricker and ask the superintendent to draft an appropriate letter of thanks from the committee.
No motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Very
Patty?
Yes,
Well, I can't see anybody, but question, a digital paper system. What do they go for?
how much money do you need?
The retail value of that device is about $800 per device.
Wow, okay, I mean, we're gonna add that into our letter thanking them, right? For the,
Yes, sir.
wow, that's a nice donation.
It is very, very nice. Yes.
I can't wait to see one and how it works.
Let me get you. I'm playing with it right now, Jimmy. It's good.
Nancy, yes.
Who's gonna get them? How are you gonna, how are they gonna be utilized?
Come into your house.
So we are, we actually are, we just received them. We didn't know how many we were going to get. So we're gonna meet as an administrative team. We may distribute them to some teachers. I think it might be a nice way for teachers, maybe English teachers, to download papers and use the stylus to correct them and then be able to send them back instead of doing a lot of online correcting.
Mm.
But we're gonna meet as a group. I asked Ms. Shrimp I gave one to her and asked her to play with it over the weekend and come to me with some recommendations. So how we're gonna allocate them yet is still to be determined.
I was gonna say it'd be nice to have you bring it to a meeting, but it wouldn't do me any good out here.
Well, they're right here.
Doesn't do me any good.
But this thing must weigh what, 4 ounces? It's amazing how light this is. And they actually, I won't do it because it terrified me when they did it. But the guy had one of his own and he took it and he threw it on the ground. And I thought it would have shattered into 1,000 pieces. But maybe Apple could learn something about that.
Well, if Ronnie can use it, most anyone can.
I can already use it. So Brad, they, just
Yes.
to follow up, they just came to us
They have,
unannounced.
they have there's a Shawsheen parent who's an employee.
That's awesome.
And they have a corporate, they sent
That's
out throughout the corporation
That's good.
solicitations, and this employee
That's
put
awesome.
Shawsheen up for a recommendation.
So I'm hoping in better days we can show them around.
Yeah.
We'd like to have
looking forward
we'd like to have
to
them come.
get some
Yeah.
internships for some of our
That's good.
BBC.
That's a great thing.
group.
Well, Ronnie, next meeting, you can show me how to use that thing.
On Zoom.
Just to figure out how to turn it on
Just
first.
figure it out.
Yeah, it was already on.
I just
You
figured
didn't
out
have
my
to do
phone
that.
wrong. Very good, very good.
Okay.
So the last agenda item tonight is a new member orientation plan. You do have a policy regarding new member orientation, which is in your packet. And I know that Ms. Gallagher and Ms. Asbedian have thrown some ideas around, and this was basically my way of putting together a 4-week orientation period that would outline what the superintendent would do with each incoming school committee member, what the school committee chair would do, what the meeting with the assistant superintendent business manager would consist of, and also the meeting with the principal and vocational director. So I thought this could be a process that we would follow that I think would in normal times be helpful to new school committee members. So that was put on the agenda at the request of Ms. Gallagher, who's not here tonight. But it's here for the committee's information or action if you so prefer.
Well, our little acorn has grown into a mighty oak. I mean, that's come a long way. We developed it into a full-fledged program. A lot more than I'd anticipated, so thank you.
So are you happy with this?
Well, I'm trying to think on how we're going to enact it, but it's a pretty ambitious goal. I think it's great. We can do it.
I mean, a lot of it, if the superintendent, school committee chair, Ms. Hagman and principal vocational director can find the time in their schedule, which is the hard part. I mean, 90% of it can be done remotely if needed.
Yeah, we can do this. This is, I think this is a process that I've followed before, and it's very doable. And I don't see how anyone could actually function as a school committee member without all this data.
So you want to make the motion, Nancy?
Is this going to be, when is this going to be enacted? At the next election? Or the current?
Yeah, this time we have a new person.
Isn't it already our policy?
We have new people. I still consider myself a new people.
This is basically would be our plan to how we're implementing your policy.
Okay. All right. I move that we accept the motion as presented. The plan is presented.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous vote. All right, before we end, we do have, you had something you wanted to ask for.
Yeah,
future
no, I
meetings.
just was curious, like other towns have the school committee meetings, I know it's shared by 5 towns. You're expecting community members to participate, it seems like you should, work with the towns that have Burlington, you have to put the technology in place to be able to do that. I mean, I'm expecting next meeting that we should.
This meeting is on YouTube. We put up on YouTube. We had a staff member before COVID hit. So traffic filmed it. I couldn't meet that.
Talk about the subject.
But no, he's talking about everything to have it. Is there a way to make it live in all communities?
Versus YouTube versus
Right.
have
I don't think she made it live. I know what you're saying.
No, she didn't. She
We filmed it and then
Yes.
it went to the broadcast.
well, we're talking
You know,
about,
you're talking about having a live meeting?
yes.
I think all of our respective towns have the ability to televise a live meeting. Question is, do they all have the ability collectively to make us live in all 5 countries?
Right.
I know WCTV has made us live, but they're
Yes.
here.
And can they share the same feed, or do
Correct.
they need 5 cameras? And that would take some coordination between the 5 local cable access companies. And I'd be happy to start making those connections.
I know you can't, I can't get any of the other community accesses on my TV except my own town.
Right.
And I know, Billerica Access has some way to do it because they do their school committee and their selectmen in varying levels of success. I think the biggest issue is gonna be the 5 towns simultaneously.
We get Bill Ricker in Brooksville.
Interesting. Do you live kind of on the border?
Is that on Comcast or?
They have been,
Comcast?
they have been putting up,
No, I'm sorry, Verizon.
because I'm
Verizon.
the executive director, Nancy Albertson, my former student, because I'm a member, I signed off, they have been putting up these meetings on the local schedule.
Who
This
has?
meeting will be on the BATV schedule.
Oh, that's good.
And they've been really nice, because before then, before I joined, I don't think anything was out there that I know of.
Well,
I think YouTube, they can watch, people can watch it live right now on
Correct.
YouTube, right?
Correct,
yes, this is live, this is going live on YouTube now.
but they can't, I asked her that question, BATV can't show this live. On there, I think, yeah, I'm trying to understand the reasoning. Anyway,
Okay,
there you
if
go.
superintendent can kind of investigate that for us,
I
we
will
appreciate
certainly.
it. All right. Anything else? Anybody have anything else? Yes.
I just wanted to share a little bit of a good, feel-good moment. The bunch of parents, as those of you on Facebook know, sometimes it becomes a very cranky place. And people are very upset and they go to Facebook and they don't necessarily go to the right people, they just vent on Facebook. But it's being done for good. A group of parents have gotten together and they are serving lunch to the teachers tomorrow.
Oh, very nice.
Wonderful. That's awesome.
Very nice.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
And the entire staff, actually.
Yes, sorry. The entire staff, faculty, everybody in the building.
Awesome.
It reminds me, I have to make lunch tomorrow.
They do need how many?
Did you get to hear that, Nancy?
Nope.
It's gonna be boxed
That
lunch.
parents are coming here tomorrow and serving lunch for all the staff.
Parents?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Made boxed lunches.
Yeah, tomorrow's a half day for students. This is tomorrow, meaning October, for those of you who may be watching this not live, October 21st is a half day.
Up on the right.
That's Clint.
Okay.
Buddy.
All right.
Madam Chair, I move for adjournment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Good evening, everybody.
Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
This microphone will remain live for a little bit.
Good night, good night.
Please.
I would say it's this week. Do something.